A very good evening. You're watching India Today on social media. I'm Nabila Jamal. I'm going to take you through the roundup. Of course, our complete focus on Afghanistan and the situation in Kabul. It's really heart-wrenching to see that lakhs of people in Afghanistan are desperate to leave that country because they don't want to fall under the rule of the Taliban. They're rushing towards the airport. They're finding many ways to exit the country, but unfortunately right now evacuation process is only taking place only for those other ethnic minorities, people from different countries, and those who have worked with the embassies, those who have worked with the US officials or with the UK officials or with Indian officials, these local Afghans who have helped these embassies in the past, their associates basically, who will now be targeted by the Taliban for helping these countries or these embassy officials, they are now first priority to be evacuated. So while many of them are currently struggling to find their way out, what we hear is that the Kabul airport right now is flooded with people. The gates are closed. Taliban is guarding the gates right outside. They're not allowing everybody to enter except for those who have passed their evacuation formalities and they have their relevant papers. But Afghanistan, Taliban today has given out a clear warning that no Afghan will be allowed to leave the country after Friday, which is tomorrow. So whoever's managed to leave has left, but those who want to leave after tomorrow will not be allowed to leave. It's a strict order by the Taliban, who now is at the helm of affairs. So unfortunately, while you have people desperate to leave there, you have water prices. A normal canned water bottle, a packed canned water bottle, is basically $40 that's being sold around the Kabul airport. That's approximately about 3,000 rupees for one packaged drinking water. And then you have food, one plate of rice around the Kabul airport right now, because of the sea of people who are dying to leave. It costs 7,500 rupees, Indian rupees, and about $100 US. That's the kind of price that people are taking for selling just water and food. And that's resulted in thousands of Afghans there who are desperate to have some water or food, many of them fainting, 20 of them who died in that clash. When I say clash, they're barely able to stand, there's no place to sit. You have people trying to push their way through into the airport, and no hot sun, no food, no water, and they're willing to give it a shot, and 20 people have died is what we hear. So these are the visuals, really heartbreaking visuals that we see. And imagine that the transaction around the Kabul airport is only happening in dollars, because the US so far had deployed their forces there in Kabul, in most parts of Afghanistan, to tackle Taliban, and especially Kabul. Right now, apparently they're not using Afghan currency, they're only using dollars, because there's such scarcity of water and food that it's only given to those with money. And that's the sad state of affairs right now. So Afghans at all costs want to leave, even if that means they die around the airport. While that said, we're looking at Taliban being more empowered, more emboldened as we speak, as the day goes by. In fact, the one area, Panjshir, which is a long-standing province that has not fallen into the hands of the Taliban entirely. So whole of Afghanistan is captured by Taliban. Only Panjshir is one province that's managed to resist. But of course, with the might of the Taliban now, it's very easy for them to take over by force, of course. But they are attempting to have a dialogue with the head of the region, which is Ahmad Mansoor. Now, they're trying to talk to Ahmad Mansoor to try and come up with a power sharing formula where there is no force used on either sides, but they come to an equation where they agree to disagree, and they live in harmony. That's very hard to believe when it comes to Taliban in wherever, whichever part of Afghanistan. If anybody opposes the Taliban's views or their rules, you can imagine what's going to happen to you. So there you have it. While you have, of course, now talks that's happening with the head of the Northern Alliance, Ahmad Mansoor, is currently in talks with Taliban. So the Taliban is now trying to pose a soft stand. They're trying to make it look like they're eager for clean governance, eager for peace and harmony to prevail. They're not going to be using force. They want to come up with a Sharia law where everybody follows Sharia law and everybody is in peace. But while that's said and done, you have people, artists, you have singers who have now stopped singing. In fact, India Today spotted, our reporters are on ground, our associates there who've been giving us reports. You have singers who have given up singing. And one man we saw, I'm not able to get his name right on my mind right now. He's a popular singer of Afghanistan, and he's given up singing and he's now taken to selling vegetables in Afghanistan. A similar situation, a minister of Afghanistan, once minister, just a few months ago he was a minister in Afghanistan. He is now, while they were escaping, many of the Afghan administration officials escaped even before the Taliban took over Kabul. So he is now in Germany. Images have now cropped up of this minister in Afghanistan who is now a pizza delivery man who's riding a bicycle and delivering pizza in Germany. So this is the fate of several of the people in Afghanistan, especially those at the helm of affairs. Ministers once, now a pizza delivery boy. So stories of different kinds in nature that's coming to fore here of this. It's nothing less and nothing short of a humanitarian crisis. Unfortunately, the world is helpless. We can't do much about it. As much as that we have to eventually, just for the safety of the rest of Afghans in Afghanistan now, possibly have a dialogue with Taliban, which is ideally a terrorist group. One should not ideally recognize them, but what can you do? You have several people at their behest. They are governing that country now, and you have no other choice but for the world over countries now to engage with the Taliban. And how are they going to engage with them? That depends, depending on how they of course act, what kind of atrocities they do, and if they are carrying out atrocities, then of course sanctions will be put on them. They will not be given money, no aid, none of it. But if they are maybe trying to come out with some civil sort of governance, then maybe the governments world over can think of engaging. It's very difficult to engage with a terror group. I can only imagine how difficult it is for the countries and respective governments the world over, including India. India is right now so confused on what to do. Whether we had great relations with Afghanistan, should we engage with the Taliban right now or not? You have enough and more business that we have. India has already invested in huge infrastructure in Afghanistan, and what really happens to that fate, that also we don't know. In fact, Pakistan and Afghanistan, Taliban, now we know Taliban is backed entirely by Pakistan. They have great ties. What's going to be the fate of India? Will we face terror threat? These questions looming large is very difficult. Of course, at this moment, even as we speak, the External Affairs Minister Jaishankar has now held an all-party meet, and there's a lot of discussion on evacuation process. Now, speaking of evacuation process, remember, Taliban has strictly said that by August 31st, everyone should be out. The deadline will not be extended. After August 31st, whoever is in Afghanistan will remain in Afghanistan because they will seal the borders. United States, Joe Biden says that evacuation will be completed by then, but if there are people who still are stuck and want to come after August 31st, then that too will be facilitated. This is United States word. Of course, United States apparently right now, from the looks of it, are all they're somehow having some sort of dialogue with the Taliban, because eventually they agreed to leave. So the Taliban's happy. They are in favor of the United States when it comes to evacuating seamlessly without any trouble. But let's see what happens after that, because we don't know that the United States itself had tried to chase away the Taliban earlier. So the Taliban does have that grouse. But at the end of it, they are also now happy that the United States has left. The army is left, and they're now, the country is theirs. So you have threat of terror at the Kabul airport. While you have a sea of people right at the Kabul airport, you have 4 countries giving out identical advisories. That is, the UK, US, Australia and Denmark have told its people not to get to the airport. Don't go to the airport if it's not absolutely mandatory. Right now everything is mandatory. They're desperate to leave. But imagine, at a time of this desperation, you have 4 of these countries that warned its citizens not to go to the Kabul airport because they fear that terror threats are looming, that there could be some terror attack at the airport, and that's why they're a little worried. They've got intelligence reports and they've given out a warning to their people. About 1,500 Americans, according to the US Secretary, has said 1,500 Americans are still in Afghanistan, and they still need to be evacuated. Are they going to be able to complete it before the 31st of August remains to be seen. So while that's said and done, let me take you through the United States left over a lot of ammunition, arms and ammunition, to the hands of the Afghan army. Now, it's unfortunate that the Afghan army, who finally managed to give in to the Taliban, have let go of all that ammunition, and that all the ammunition that they had, including the Black Hawk, which is a very, very famous armored carrier. In fact, it's a US-made Black Hawk, which is quite a famous ammunition. In fact, terrorist organizations now have access to this, and they have quite some sophisticated weaponry into their kitty now. A video has now surfaced where we see the Taliban taxing UH-60 Black Hawk around the Kandahar airport. So they really started to use it, and this is a very famous bird, the ammunition, and it is capable of carrying missiles, rockets and cannons. So billions of dollars have been spent to empower the Afghan army, which now all falls to the hands of the Taliban. Absolutely unfortunate. Now, shifting focus, I'm going to take you through what's happened in Karnataka. Devastating news. A gang rape of a student, a young student of a private college, has been gang raped by a bunch of men near Chamundi Hills in Mysuru. We believe that they were somewhere going towards Chamundi Hills, and that's where a bunch of men cornered the bikers. There were two friends, a boy and a girl, on a bike. They were going towards the hills, and these men stopped them. They tried to loot them, but they found that they had no money. Eventually, they hit the boy, and they dragged the girl to a secluded location and gang raped her. And now this has resulted in massive protests erupted in Mysuru. You have the NCW team now, the National Commission of Women, who's now written to the higher-ups asking for immediate attention into this case and ensure that these men are arrested at the earliest. It is shocking. Even Basaraj Bommai, the Chief Minister, has promised that they will crack down at the earliest. Now, over to Punjab, Captain Amrinder Singh and Sidhu, the fight between the two leaders. Finally, it seems like the Congress has taken a tough stand and sort of put Sidhu in his place. They've said that Sidhu, the party has not been handed to you. You cannot constantly create unrest within the party, especially when the polls are approaching. And your demand and your loyalist demands to change the chief ministerial face will not be entertained. Captain Amrinder Singh will be the man who will be leading the party to the 2022 polls. So this has been clearly conveyed to Navjot Singh Sidhu and his men. So let's hope now that we don't see all explosives on social media platforms targeting Amrinder Singh. Now, COVID cases, as it's on the rise in Kerala, we're now questioning the Kerala model itself, because we do know that Kerala was one of the states that really handled contact tracing, COVID testing, secondary contact tracing. They were so adept and accurate with their COVID management, and it's very unfortunate that right now they've sort of lost steam. And the country is now blaming Kerala, especially the union government, of course, saying that 50% of the cases in the country today are coming from Kerala alone. Remember, Kerala did multiple things wrong, including Bakrid celebrations. They relaxed regulations, norms in Kerala. Then came Onam festivities, that too they relaxed norms in the state. And that's resulted in a spike in COVID cases. One day, today itself, 24 hours, about 31,000 infections have been reported. So you can imagine, while most other states, like even the highest state of Maharashtra, is only reporting 5,000 cases now, finally, you have Kerala that's reporting 31,000 fresh cases. So that's a little bit of a disappointment, because India is really trying hard to battle this surge, but Kerala somehow is losing its battle here. Now, a Ganesh Utsav face-off in Karnataka, while you have Karnataka government that strictly banned Muharram celebrations. Muharram, remember, has huge processions with people gathering up from the Shia community, and that's banned. Ganesh Chaturthi is banned, but BJP leaders have challenged their own chief minister. So you have some of the BJP MPs like Pratap Simha and a few others who've come forward and said, why not allow Ganesh Utsav celebrations? So of course, now the demand is to relax Ganesh Utsav norms to celebrate Ganesh Utsav. But it depends now, Basaraj Bommai, whether he is going to yield under pressure of his own leaders. It remains to be seen. Now, a quick word on COVID Shield. The gap between the two doses, the first and the second dose, was about more than 60 days, about 60 days. Now it appears that actually even more, maybe 3 months. That's what they said. If you're taking COVID Shield, and you can have a gap of about 3 months-ish. But now they say that 12 weeks, it could be brought down to 12 weeks at max. So let's see how that happens. It could be less than 12 weeks. Yeah, so it's now 12 weeks. It could be a lot less than 12 weeks is what they say. That's it. I think more or less covered here. And a final note, some sporty news. You have Neeraj Chopra. Remember, this became a huge controversy yesterday that he in an interview had casually told to the interviewer that while he was in the final round of the javelin throw, he was looking for his javelin stick, and he saw that Arshad Nadeem, the Pakistan contestant, was playing around with it. He was basically holding it and walking around. So Neeraj went to him and said, "Bhai, this is my javelin stick. You please give it back to me. I need to go throw it." And that guy got flustered and he handed it back to him. And then Neeraj said, "Then that's how you must have noticed. I went in a hurry and I threw the first shot." So that became quite a controversy on social media, people pinning the blame on the Arshad Nadeem and hitting out at him and accusing him of all sorts of things. So Neeraj Chopra came around today and released a video on social media, very promptly slamming all those trolls, saying that it was just a casual comment about how he hurriedly put the first shot. But the fact is that most of the javelin sticks are kept all together, it's all bunched up, and people generally have the habit, the contestants have a habit of using each other's stick. It's very normal in any sporting arena, and here too that's what happened. But he, since it was his finals, he wanted to use his stick, and that's why he was looking for it, and Nadeem had taken it by mistake, and one should not further their agenda or propaganda through his life. That's what Neeraj has said, and kudos to him for clarifying on that and slamming the trolls that are coming in. On that note, have a great day. Thank you for watching.